So you're gonna change the gear from here to a little bit more about your thoughts on music and what music really means to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
let us hear
I
what
think about it every day about
okay.
how what a blessing music has been to me. So yeah, okay. It's something that I feel cleanses me from inside out. Uh, I don't need to be singing. I just, whenever I even listen to music, there is some process that's always going on in my mind. For example, if I'm listening to any kind of music, like I'm not particular that it has to be Bollywood. I listen to all kinds of music. Just that it should have some singing in it. I'm not a big fan of rap music, but some notation, some tune. There should be some tune. So whenever I listen to a song, I'm always decoding the notations in my head. It could be a song that I've listened to 1,000 times or 2,000 times, but the notations are always going on in my head when I listen to it. I don't. It's been a couple of years now that I cannot listen to a song without notating it on my head, inside my head. So and that also helps me learn a song faster because I immediately jot down the notations, and it helps me retain the tune much better. And also, if I'm going to learn a song by the ear instead of doing it in a very short time, uh, if it's something that I'm going to be listening over a week or something, then it's much easier to grasp because the notations are already there in my head. So I don't know, that's not normal. I feel there are people who just listen to songs as it is, but I cannot listen to them without notating them in my head. So music
But
has, what I mean to say by this is that it's become such a part of me that even in the simplest of tune there is some musical work that's going on. I'm looking for a technique there, or I'm looking for the voice modulation, or the if I'm looking for the bhavam. I'm always trying to understand if the singer who has sung that song has sung it with feel, or what is unique about their voice and the way they've sung it. So there is some kind of decoding that's always happening in my head. So that to that level, I feel that music is important to me, and I cannot listen to a song just normally. So that is the importance of music for me, and I've reached a point where I sing for God, for my soul, and I'm very harsh on myself. I'm a very
Mhm,
very harsh critic on myself, and
mhm.
I'm very very particular that a line has to be sounding like this, and I don't mind singing it again and again and again till I get where I want to, how I want myself to sound. So that is the importance of music for me personally.
But then, do you? I was talking to someone very recently, and I'm gonna probably interview him as well. But he's a young kid, and he
Okay,
can notate the same way like you. He says that he can notate everything.
lovely.
And how do you think if somebody really wanted to learn that, or how can you do that? How can you achieve it actually? Like, is there anything that you wanted to say about it?
Yeah, so actually, again, we go back to the basics here. Um, for me, it was God's gift, I would say, but because not having learned Sarli Varshe and Jante Varshe at the start of your training is a fatal mistake, as
Yeah.
my most recent long time guru had told me.
Mhm.
And in fact, she taught me Sarli Jantavashe before I started
Again.
teaching kids. Because I had to learn from her so that I could teach. So when at that age you're able to know your swarams
Yeah.
perfectly,
Yeah.
then uh, you can definitely attempt, if it is not there in you from,
Yeah.
like my Hindustani sir in Bombay, he said, tum में Saraswati ji basi hai. That's I
Uh-huh.
remember that some things that my gurus have told me, I can remember them like it was yesterday.
Mhm.
So this is one of the things that he had told me when he realized that, and he made me realize that I can notate. I didn't know myself. So he said, work on this, develop it, so when one day will come when I'm playing the harmonium and it's a completely new tune, and I'm playing the phrase, and you're able to notate it to me through singing. So
Wow.
work on it so much and develop it. So that's how I think the whole process started, where I listened to music and I kept notating, and that's how it
Yeah.
definitely, if it's there in you from the start, then it's a matter of realizing it and then practicing. And
Yeah.
nothing is got without
Yeah.
practice.
What I heard from you is that you're saying that it is again, you,
Swarasthanams, learning
yeah,
your and
it's again that you really know that basics of it actually. Each of those.
absolutely. You
So
should
it's
know
a,
where your sa is in any, I mean, your sa pa sa, that is your scale. You should know which one is your comfort scale.
yeah,
You should understand your voice and the elasticity and your vocal texture.
right,
And you should also know your arohanam, avrohanams of every ragam. That's what we learn even in Geetams when we
right,
start doing more and more ragams.
yeah,
And from the Arohanam Avrohanam, it'll give you an idea of where the swarams are placed. So I used to teach my students that every Shruti is like a shoe size, and it's in its box, it has to be in the correct box. The shoe
right,
has to fit.
right,
So your swarams have to fit
yeah,
that particular note in that ragam. So that's very important.
yeah,
Then you can notate, it's easy. Then
yeah,
you actually, some people, they're not able to do it with the song, but what they can do is line by line, they listen by the ear and then they just write down the notations. So,
yeah,
a lot of musicians, violinists, sitar players, veena players, that's how they learn.
uh-huh,
There, not everybody has got this inside them, but
right.
many of them, they sit and they write notations. And then, yeah.
चले भी आओ तसव्वुर में मेहरबान बनके आज इंतजार तेरा दिल को हद से ज्यादा है
So we are part of a Smule community, so I have to ask you about that. How do you find the platform? Is it really something that you just try to use it as a practicing, or just hear how you may sound if you really want to record something? How do you find the app to be useful in your music
I
as
think
such?
it's a stage by itself for
Hmm.
me, because we do the same preparation that we would do for a stage performance, right from the dressing up, looking presentable, to practicing before we sit to record any song on Spule. It's not like, oh, I've not sung for weeks now and I'm just going to come on Spule and I'm going to sing. No, the same amount of sincerity is from my end, it's given for singing on Smil, because at the end of the day, it's the same saptaswar that we are singing. The
So you take
same.
it really seriously, not just
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. It's the same foundation, and you just apply that whenever you sing any song, no matter where you sing it, if it's mule or if it's a stage show or anything. And smule is another reason why I feel it's like a stage show, is because there is the mixing. There is such a fun process. The effects, the vocal effects that are there, it's so easy to, it's tension free, and the karaoke's are there, the lyrics are there in front of you. It's such a unique experience for singers to have. And um, uh, and then the visual effects also, because for me, as I've been a performer for the longest time, presentation is very important. It's not just about the singing, but there are people who express a lot just with their voice. But
Mhm.
if you're on a platform like Smule, where you do a video invite, presentation is also very important. So I feel that it is a holistic, wholesome platform for people to come and sing on. And I'm
You
really
yeah.
happy that I could.
Yeah, I mean, it's really revolutionary that they did actually with
Absolutely.
with the app, and for a youngster who really wanted to make use of the app to their benefits, it's
Yeah,
all in there actually.
and yeah, absolutely. And I have custom made a lot of tracks in
I was gonna
Smule.
ask you about it actually because I know you did. That's how I first noticed your music because you
Yeah, and
did
I have some
that.
more coming up too. So that really it motivates me so much to get my creative juices flowing. And I'm a big believer in fusion. Of course, where it sounds good, and that's very subjective, all that I know. I mean, some people may like it, some people may not like it. There are purists, and then there are just people with different tastes. But
Right.
I love fusing two genres together or two or more. So Smule has that was the first place where I actually started, and I think the first song that I did, which was a fusion, was "Sapno Se Bhare Naina." In that, I added these bol tans, that takadimi takajanu, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of it, and
Mm-hmm.
I added there was the ad lib of that song. I did it freestyle without any rhythm, and then so it taught me so much to on how to work on GarageBand and add tunes and play around with the digital
Very
music.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
I'm
so
I'm impressed actually by seeing even one of those Malayalam songs that you mixed and put as a track.
Jeevamsham.
Actually, Johnson, favorite your thoughts on. You did learn Carnatic music as well as Hindustani as well, actually. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on the current status of Carnatic music and Hindustani music in India. You are you in touch with a lot of other musicians while you were in India because you recently moved to US, but then
Yeah.
before, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Not really, because the break came when when I did my MBA in Mumbai. That was in 2012, between 2012 and 2014. There was a break that came with music. But at that time also, I was participating in inter-college events, MBA colleges, and every event I would sing just one song, which was Mere Dholna, because that's a competition song, and by God's grace I won them, each and every one of them. So that was so, but then marriage happened, and then I just lost touch with a lot of my music friends. One of them that I've sung with, Shreyas Puranik, he's a music director in the team of Sanjay Leela Bhansali. You would see his name often.
Oh
I think
wow.
he first collaborated with him in Ram Leela.
Uh-huh.
And Bajirao Mastani, that Gajanana Ganaraya, that
Oh
song
my
is
God,
also,
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah.
the whole movie songs are amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So Shreyas was one of the people who I used to collaborate with, and of course, at that time, he was also just trying to make his break into
mhm.
the industry. But he was a student of Suresh Vadkar, and he
Uh-huh.
knew Rahul Vaidya, he knew Sonu Nigam at that time too.
Mhm.
So he's one person, and there was another guy with whom I used to jam once in a while. But it was mostly studies, because after a point, my mother said that you need to, it's very competitive in the music field, and you got to study, and you've got to focus on getting a job or something that keeps you stable in life. So I stopped. I mean, it was my all-time dream to be a playback singer, and every recording experience that I had there with music producers and my own Hindustani teacher there, Vishal Kamble, he's a music director in the Marathi film industry. So
Okay.
he was the one who gave me exposure to the recording studios and singing songs, and how a professional recording is done is what he taught me. But I was my at my happiest when I used to be in front of the mic.
Okay.
But that dream went away, but no regrets.
Yeah.
But it's at that time that was something that I was very passionate about. Then marriage happened, and then I came to Singapore, and I just lost touch with a lot of
Mhm.
my musician.
So, that's very understandable. But then, the question a little bit was about your thoughts on the current status of the.
Yeah,
How do
yeah,
you and how do you think these are two different so branches of our music, but then not much. It's very hard to convince them that these are important. And
yeah.
so what
Uh,
what what, what do you think this is going actually, how do you think it's going to be surviving in the.
I think it's still being preserved in some form.
Mhm.
Definitely, listeners of classical music have reduced. And
Uh-huh.
having said that, I myself was not a listener of classical music. I still don't. Like
Mhm.
I would do it if I had a purpose, like I had to learn a song, or I have a performance to practice for which I need ideas. Then I would listen to an established artist put a ragam or a neraval in that song or something with purpose. It's purpose-led listening that I do myself. But there's this virtual group, Fusionatica, that I sing for, and they definitely have more people attending the non-classical events, non-classical music events like film music.
Uh-huh.
Than so definitely, film music has a wider reach, but
Okay.
that does not mean that people who are learning classical music are any less sincere towards it.
Right.
Of course, the dilution has been happening over a period of
Right.
time now.
Right.
So the kind of diction purity that people had in maybe 2 or 3 generations back, now it must have diluted. And there's a song Keriya Niranu. There is Nodi Badukiro or Nammi Badukiro. Nodi is like
Yeah.
in Kannada, it's sea, and sea and asma. How do I say it? Um, See and get the feel of God's grace, and
Uh-huh.
Nammi Padukiro is to surrender.
Yeah.
So surrender
It's
is deeper,
beautiful. Yeah.
but surrender has a deeper meaning. But these days people sing it as Nodi. They say, see the God's grace,
Yeah.
view, experience it for yourself. But
Yeah.
surrendering is deeper. So dilution has been happening. But I have a cousin who's in Boston, I think.
Hmm.
She is learning classical music, Carnatic vocal. She's been learning for many years, and she's now teaching also. And I listen to her sing, and she's really good. She's performed with Abby V on stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What's
and
her name?
Medha.
Okay. I
I
may
don't
have
know.
seen it actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
he do a lot of collabs actually with
yeah,
different
yeah,
singers. And
yeah,
so that's a good point to just ask you, because you said that there is Rahul. You mentioned about Rahul Velal, for example.
yeah.
He's a youngster. Kuldeep Pai. He's a guy who had bring those two talents, the girl's name I forgot actually.
Spurti Rao.
Surya Gayatri.
Surya Gayatri,
Gayatri.
yes, yeah,
They both are they would have come and visited San Diego last year before the COVID actually, and then it got canceled because of the pandemic came actually.
right, right.
All that efforts that a lot of people do have brought to the common people a lot of complex kritis. All those are deeper meanings in all those little lyrics there, and you have to pronounce them properly to
True.
give the actual meaning of that songs actually. So all those efforts are there, and then that's probably will preserve our music, I even hope actually, right? That's
Yes,
what we
yes.
are trying
And
to.
then there is Kaushiki Chakrabarti in Hindustani, there is Rahul Deshpande, and whenever they post any new song on Instagram, there are their
People
students and
listen
so
to
many
it.
people from the audience that comment on their singing, and they give classical concerts,
Yeah,
but people they are always the houseful. Their shows are always houseful. So
just just like Ranjani and Gayatri, for example.
absolutely, Ranjini Gayatri, Sudha Raghunathan,
Yeah, they all
Abhishek
are.
Ratnam, and
They
then there
all
is
are.
yeah,
Tikal Gurcharan, for example,
yes,
and he had started a YouTube channel where he actually pick up songs from a particular movie from Raja's music, and then he would go in depth analysis how the master had crafted all that ragas into all this
yeah,
music and things like that. So
wow,
there is a lot of effort that people are who are really, the Carnatic music sits on the top of a throne, and then
yeah,
it has to come
absolutely,
down. and that's the only way that you can bring it
Absolutely.
into
And
common.
of late also what's happening is there are a lot of leg demonstrations that are being held. They call it leg dem. A lot of artists, like good artists, they may not be like established artists like Ranjini Gayatri, etc. But they are good artists in locally in the place. Like in Singapore, there were two or three really good established singers. They would hold lecture demonstrations in their concerts. They would always be thematic, and before every song they would have these slides presented. So it's like you're educating people not just in a classroom, you're also making them attend your shows, and you're educating them not just performing as an artist, you're also teaching them so much about music, which is really good. Because those days in a concert, typically what would happen is you have that format. You have a Varnam or a Ganesha song to start with, and then there is a there are two, three tough kirtanams that you sing, and then there is a sub main piece, and then there are two fast songs, and then there's a main piece, and then there are a few tukdas or main piece that could be an ragam taram pallavi or something. Listeners typically will not have kids understanding anything because they don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
They have so much to learn, so they would just lose interest and walk away. The people who
Yeah.
sit back are just the audience that know what they are listening to, or if they are like fans of the artist. So it just used to be that they would perform and then finish it off. But today a lot of artists are demonstrating about, and I've seen that happen on Smule also.
Hmm.
There's this Hamir the Ruparil, and then Anand Navdikar. He also
Hmm.
Swaradeen. Arun knows him. So um,
I've attended
yeah,
one of the meetings, like one of the,
yes, yes,
Swapnil was on it actually, and then I came for
true,
that one.
true,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So they have been trying to educate people and make classical music so much more relatable to the audience. So definitely efforts are being made. And Anand, in fact, he is trying to show how Hindustani ragas are applied in Bollywood music, and he's making people understand the Arohanam, Avrohanam, and then
Mhm.
how beautifully it's shown in
So
film
there is a
music.
lot of effort actually, like
Absolutely. I can see that because of the existence and uh, good presence of these social media platforms
yeah.
like Facebook and Instagram, a lot of efforts are being made to make it reachable to a wider audience.
Yeah. I mean, these are all people also took the torch, but then, from the beginning of the blog that we try to bring this groups together and do a lot of work. There's a lot of names like, Swapnil, for example, he did a
Yeah.
lot of work on Hindustani music and tried to popularize it on Smule. And Arun, for example, you just met him before this interview.
Yes.
Sangeeta, for example, she's a proper Carnatic trained musician. There was Preeti Vijayshan. She's not singing on Smule anymore because she's doing a PhD program at the moment. And these are all people who had put a lot of effort on Smule to, bring the beauty of classical music to the common audience. She used to put out invites of proper Carnatic, some kind of a fusion versions of it.
Right,
That's
right,
where
right.
people would come and sing with it. Now that person is Krishna. If you know Krishna, she is she says she used to be a Sai sisters. Krishna
Okay.
and Vidu, they both are like proper
Okay.
stage performing artists. Actually, they all are part of our group actually, and they are all. I interviewed them and I presented them on the blog page as
Okay.
well. So, yeah,
Wow.
and I'm honored that you are also part of it now because I'm listening to you and then I'm blown away by the kind of dedication that you have, and then we cherish people like you to be a part of the team.
Thank
Actually.
you. Thank you.